Well, not only is it hump day, it is Gemini day. Happy birthday, Geminis. It's your time. And you know, I should know a little bit about Gemini because I are one. And I know some of you are saying, wait a minute, I thought you were a Scorpio. I am a Scorpio by birth sign, by sun sign, but by rising sign, I am a Gemini, and that characteristic has been well with me all of my life. So I kind of know that sign pretty doggone well. The timing on it is 9:41 Eastern Time this morning. Now, before we launch into all things Gemini, there is one other aspect today. I mentioned on Monday that this is really it for the week almost. But the Venus squares Neptune again, 7:06 p.m. tonight. We are not getting out of this Venus square Neptune for a while. Venus retrograde will be until the end of June, and then it has to catch up and move on out of Gemini and into Cancer before we get out of this Neptune square. So it's with us for quite a while. Just so happens that tonight it will be exact degree and minute. And if you wanted that number, it is 20 degrees, 39 minutes. So that's both in Gemini and in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces, Venus in Gemini, 20 degrees, 39 minutes. And, oh, gosh, how could I have forgotten this? I have had so many requests. When are you going to do readings again? I am doing readings again. So if you guys want to sign up for an astrology read, I'm going to do these differently this time just because of time. We'll do it live, so it'll be on Zoom. We will record it on Zoom, but we'll be interacting live. And the sign up for that is at soulfoodtalks.com. It's kind of cool how that little site lays out. There's an astrology shop there, and you can go into the astrology shop, and I've got all the astrology stuff right there together. So just go in there and check it out. It's right up at the top. If you'd like a 1 hour, we can start there, and then we can go on. If you want more time, we can just work that out. But that's what you got if you would like to do a reading. Yesterday, we took the day off, and I did a ton of research, which I will be, since we've got some slack days here, I'm going to fill that in. So yesterday's time that I would have been spending doing this, I spent researching a lot of things that I want to talk about and throw just a few ideas out there kind of about where we are and where we might be going. So we'll be doing that over the upcoming days. Let's talk about the twins, the Geminis, the Mercury-ruled communicators, the butterfly. I call them the butterflies of the zodiac. It's like, you know, first of all, with Gemini, you never know who you're talking to, right? You Geminis are laughing. You know, there's two personalities, and you have to kind of hone in. It's like having double vision, and, you know, where you're holding your fingers out, and you got to go, wait a minute, okay, what am I locking onto here? That's part of it. And the other part is that they are just all over the place. I found kind of a cool website the other day that talked about how strong are your planets, and there was a little questionnaire. And when it got to Mercury, which, of course, rules Gemini, if you had like the categories were, your Mercury is not strong, and then it was medium, and then strong, and then off the charts, you know. And the strong, the third of the four tiers, it said, do you have ADD? Has anybody told you have ADD or ADHD? And then the last one, I think there were like 8 or 10 questions about Mercury. And the last, if you're over the top, strong in your Mercury or Gemini, it was saying, how did you even sit to take this little quiz? You know, it's like, how did you sit still long enough? It's the butterfly. The person who owned the home in Aspen, where I spent almost 3 years, was a Gemini, and we became very good friends over the course of that time. It's a long story, but she was very much this way. I knew, knowing that she was a Gemini, and just reading her and figuring out the best way to communicate with her was to keep it short. And in a conversation that might last 30 minutes, just a chat, you know, a kitchen table chat, pull up a cup of coffee and how are things going kind of thing, that we would cover a number of different topics multiple times. So it's like you'd be on one topic for a few seconds, and then all of a sudden the subject was just different. We were talking about dogs 1 minute and, I don't know, baking the next or something, and then you'd come back around to dogs, and then you might hit baking again or not, but you might talk about how she worked at the particular place up on the ski mountain, at Bonnie's and made the soup up there. You know, something, it just went all over the place, and it was fun. It was fun keeping up with it. She's a delightful soul, and we still keep in touch, even though our ways have parted geographically. Now, the thing about Gemini that everybody frames up, so a couple of keywords. If you just wanted a couple of keywords to lock onto Gemini, you would say communication and learning/intellect. And one of the things that Steve Forrest points out in the Book of Air, which I'm narrating right now, when we consider communication, that is actively talking, obviously, but effective communication is also actively listening. Exactly. You were ahead of me in your mind. And that's a really key point for Geminis to keep in mind. It's as much about zipping it and just listening and being in the moment and being in the space and then processing it and then maybe stepping away from it even and then communicating. This is part of the wonder of astrology, is learning your particular strengths and characteristics of how the universe wired you. And one of the things, we learn it by observing ourselves and just observing how we do life. But one of the things that I learned early on was that I had very good communicating skills. My senior year, the summer before my senior year in college, I was working at a little radio station in the little small town near Fayetteville, Arkansas, where I was. And through that contact, I was presented the opportunity to go meet the general manager of the ABC television station in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and become the 6 and 10 evening news anchor. At that time, I was only 20 years old, almost 21. Almost 21. Good evening. Hi, this is the news. That's what I did my senior year of college. And then I went on to a couple of other places and then ended up going into having my own company and going into production. But even back then, people would comment on and compliment me on my communication abilities. Well, fast forward 40 years, 4 decades. And a couple of months ago, a friend of mine passed my name to the general manager of a television station in West Texas and said, you might want to talk to this guy. He might might be interested in doing some news anchoring for you. And I had a conversation with their consultant, and that's very common in the news business. And he was very nice and honored me by saying that I sent him a little demo reel, a couple, 3 minutes. He said, I watched your reel for 20 seconds. And we were on the phone. And it just, it's amazing that, these characteristics that we are born with stay with us all of our life. I haven't anchored anything for 4 decades, and yet it's still there, And yeah, sure, I'm doing the audiobooks and the podcasts and the radio show and all the stuff that I've been doing, but you get the point. I mean, these things never leave us. But I'm going to leave you here, and we will talk more Gemini as the week unfolds, and some other stuff. I've got a lot of material. So check you out tomorrow. Have a great one. Happy Gemini Day.